You will be taking care of the transportation needs for the reality game. You are found on Oak Street. At your station, students will pay for their transportation, gas, insurance, and maintenance. They may also choose to sell their car and select alternative transportation. Car is repossessed if 2 payments are missed, and excuse me, students must always have some form of transportation. For this particular station, these are the resources that you'll need. You'll need the transportation record that's up on the screen. You'll also need a pencil. You will need a stamp marker or stickers if that's how you're set up. You'll also need checks and a dry erase marker along with a paper towel. Now, before the game even started, the coordinator for the program has already marked the students' choices of cars and their way to get around. And so they've either chosen a junker car for $100 per month, a sedan for $400, or an SUV for $600 a month. Now these will be marked here with a check mark, and so you'll know how much you need to collect from the student each month. Now, corresponding to those same numbers is the gas, insurance, and maintenance. And so if they chose a junker over here, then you'll look at the junker. This will also be marked for you ahead of time. They will pay the amount of gas and maintenance that's needed for their particular car. It will either be $200 for the junker or sedan, or $400 for the SUV. Now you'll notice that there's another fee down here. It's $100 for any additional. It's an additional fee for anyone living in neighborhood estates. The reason for that is it's so much further out, and so there's just more gas money and more wear and tear on the car. So those students that also selected to live in neighborhood estates will have to be charged an extra $100. So if they're already paying $200, they're going to add the $100 to make it a total of $300. So when they come to you with their payment, whatever that is, they will have their game board, and you will take their money. Actually, you will take their money, then you'll X through the month number for the month that you're in, and then you'll go to the game board, and you'll look at sorry about the shakiness here, you'll look at the numbers here. These correspond to the different months, month 1, 2, and 3. And if you're in month 1, you're going to take your stamp marker and you're going to just stamp on there. Or if it's a sticker, then you'll put a sticker on top of that month number. And that takes care of their transportation need for that month. Now, if a student misses a car payment for 2 months, their car will be repossessed. So at that point, they must choose an alternative form of transportation, which would be they could go down to a junker if they could buy a junker, or they could do public transportation. If they decide to go with a junker, say they were already in a sedan and they went to a junker, they would need to start paying $100 per month, and you would write on here junker. If they go to public transportation, you'll write public transportation. So, excuse me, if they decide that they want to kind of be proactive and not worry about getting into trouble with their car payments, they can actually choose to sell their car, and then they can, at that point, do public transportation. If they choose to sell their car, here's the amount that they would get for each of their different kinds of car. For a junker, it would be $800. For a sedan, it would be $3,000. For an SUV, they would get $8,000. So you would record that on this line, the amount that they're getting. That amount would be paid to them in the form of a check. So your check will be laminated. So you'll take your dry erase marker and you'll just write their last name only. You don't need to worry about their first name. And then just fill in the rest of the information and pay them. They will then take that to the bank and cash it. Now, at that point, they're going to need to make sure that they still have an alternative plan for transportation. So whatever they decide, if they're selling, they're also going to need to put public transportation, because that's the only place that they can go at that point. Okay, so if they go to public transportation, it is all dependent on where they live. And so you're going to ask the student where they live, and if they don't know, that information is in their packet that they're carrying around, and it would be on their lifestyle choices. It would say whether they lived in Neighborhood Place, Neighborhood Hills, or Neighborhood Estates. If they live, for instance, in Neighborhood Place, they would need to pay $100, but that would cover 3 months' time. So if they paid their $100, you can go ahead and mark out all 3 months because that takes care of the public transportation for all that time. You would also go to their transportation record on their game board, and you could just go ahead and mark out all those 3 numbers because their transportation is taken care of completely. If they are in Neighborhood Hills, it would be for 2 months, so you could mark out 2 months. Now, of course, there's not an even number, but you would just go ahead and they collect the number for the first 2 months, and then another $100 for the second 2 months. For Neighborhood Estates, it's $100 per month, so they'll just have to come back each month and pay for that. So that's it for your transportation records.